Hey everybody, it's Brian. Before I did this Seahawks stuff full time, I worked as a manager and senior leader, so I know how lonely it can be to try to find someone you trust to talk through people issues, org issues, process issues as you try to lead an organization. Ryan Cleveland of RyanCleveland.com is someone I trust to have those conversations with. He specializes in working with CEOs and business owners, and you can get a complimentary free discovery session to see if it's a good fit for you. Just go to RyanCleveland.com to sign up and start now.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another unsuccessful Seahawks post-game show. I am Brian Nemhauser. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at HawkBlogger. I think one or more of the guys will be joining me in a little bit. And let's go over this game. Let's go over this game. Before we do that, let's just remind everybody, we're Seahawks fans here. Let's, feel free to share whatever point of view you've got, any emotion you've got, all that's good. As long as it's about football, not directed at anybody else. Keep it kind, keep it friendly in chat. If you say something and you make your point, don't just keep repeating it until people get annoyed with you. Share your point of view, move on. It's all fine. Like, there's no sacred cows here, or whatever the appropriate way to say that is. But let's keep it kind and respectful as much as possible. And let's keep the comments about the football team, and about how we're feeling about it. So, I will also, let's not do all caps, for the folks out there that get super emotional. Your words have the same power when they're not in all caps. So let's just get those ground rules out of the way to begin with, and let's talk about this game. So I think there's no way that any Seahawk fan exits that game or the way this season has gone and feels good. There's a little bit of something for everybody in that game. If you hate Geno Smith, you got plenty of ammunition in that game to say, I don't want to see that guy play anymore. It's totally a fair perspective to have, given how atrocious the turnovers were in that game. If you hate John Schneider, or you feel like this guy has just absolutely hamstrung the team by not building an offensive line appropriately year after year after year, and it just keeps killing this team, you got a ton of ammunition in this game to point the finger at the front office and the state of that offensive line. If you are someone who doesn't like Ryan Grubb, who is frustrated with the play calling and frustrated with the way that the game is being orchestrated on offense, you had plenty of ammunition to work with there. So I could keep going there. If you're a Mike McDonald hater, there are things in this game you could point at and say, and we'll go through some of those, where you could say this is like a ship going in the wrong direction and all this is bad. And I think that that's all valid. I honestly think it's totally fair for everyone to have those feelings, whatever those feelings are. I'll tell you this, and this is probably going to be different than what everyone else feels. I came into this season, and one of the things I said was, I'm just ready to lose in a different way. And by God, did they find a different way to lose today? I don't know if you'll ever see a game where they found that many weird ways to lose a game. And jokes semi aside, I will just say, I came into this game hopeless about the Seahawks defense and hopeless that they could stop the run against any team. And everyone's going to be like, don't give me silver linings. I'm not. I'm just telling you exactly how I feel. I want to just be always authentic. They actually played credible run defense. And I'm like, and that's a good run team that was pretty sure they were going to be able to run over the Seahawks. And like, I was like, oh, okay, so this isn't hopeless on that side. The defense overall played maybe their best game of the season, depending on how you want to look at it, from an opponent, from a play caller they're going against, from all sorts of situations. I want to look and find it. I'm not sure Pete Carroll in his entire career against Sean McVay went 4 straight possessions without allowing points, let alone the first 4 possessions of a game. Like, there was like that first half defensively, and most of the game defensively was really good. And they had to overcome really questionable penalty calls. They had to overcome some terrible play by the offense. They had to overcome a lot. And that, for me, like, I walk away and I'm like, okay, I'd already kind of given up on this season being that meaningful from a getting to the playoffs and doing anything big. It is so important that this young defense actually looks like they can play the game properly, and that Mike Macdonald can figure out how to stop an absolute tail slide, which he hasn't been able to do so far this year. And that happened today. So, like I said, I'm not trying to deflect from all the bad things. We'll talk about all those. Those are all totally fair. But I guess I kind of just walk away with, God, that sucks. It just sucks. And also, I'm just glad that the defense looked credible. Like, I can't tell you how much my heart could not take watching another team run down their throats. Like, I just could not do it. And so that, for me, at least is a different type of shitty feeling. It's still shitty. Let me pull in Nathan Ernst at NathanE11. Nathan, it's been a while since we've been able to have you on the post-game show. Glad to see you. Wish it was under better circumstances.
Yeah.
What was your reaction to this game?
I think I had a really similar takeaway as you. There's a lot to be frustrated with in this game. But I was ready to watch a game and see them get absolutely punched in the mouth again, see Mike Macdonald have no answers for the run game, and really be ready to start the conversation about, okay, how long can Mike really last? Mm-hmm. Like, how long can he just roll out there with the same game plan and get ran over and not adapt? And that didn't happen. That was not what happened today. I think we saw them do some different stuff with their defensive front, which is what the complaint has been. That was, what Brandon Mebane and many other people have shredded them for. And so this looked like a game where they made some changes and it worked, at least on the defensive side of the ball. And so this was a total gut punch. But for me, like, this hurts because they should have won, and because they showed what I wanted to see, and they just did some really dumb stuff combined with the offensive line to throw it away. And so, like, I am coming away from this feeling way better than I thought I was going to come away from this game feeling, even though they lost.
People are going to hate us, Nathan. All right, we've got to wallow in the hatred of the team for a little while, because people don't want to hear. I mean, that's helpful because both of us, it's interesting. You and I don't see things always the same way, and in this case, I think it sounds like we're pretty similar. When I like, let's turn critical for a second because people need to hear it. I'll throw this out there. I think it is totally valid to say, why aren't we playing Sam Howell at this point? Like, why aren't we seeing what we've got in the young quarterback, seeing if there's anything and learning about him? If he has any potential to be your future quarterback, start learning about him with the JSN, who's 22 years old and had his career game today. So, like, start seeing if there's anything there. So you go into your offseason with some information. Personally, I think it's 1 or 2 games too soon for that conversation. I understand other people are going to feel differently. I think you'd lose the locker room if you did that right now. I don't think the people that play on the field feel like it's particularly close between Sam Howell and Geno Smith. But I think the conversation now is absolutely a fair one to start having.
I disagree.
There we go.
That one I think is crazy. Like Gino had two terrible picks today, really bad picks today. The second one I think being the worst, the one that was maybe to K9. It's not really clear. Mm-hmm. The first one bounced off of JSN's hands. The second one was a real head scratcher. And then the third one, he gets a ton of pressure and, he's supposed to get the burner and it's a bad throw. There's not a lot of excusing it. But this isn't normal for Gino. This is not what you see. Like, I will say, I think Gino's biggest problem is sometimes he tries too hard. he will force stuff. And I think that's what we saw a bit today. But this division is still wide open. Like, the Cardinals are 5-4, Rams and Niners at 4-4, Seahawks 4-5. Like, to just say, oh, it's time to pack it in and try to go with Sam Howell when you've got a first-year coach who's trying to like get a defense that's got talent going, and you've got a GM who probably has some like job security on the line here with this team. He talked a big game in the offseason. No, I don't think it makes sense to just throw Gino away at this point, especially when he had two incredible drives too, at the end of the half, at the end of the game. And him, like, it's not his fault they ran 4 times and got stuffed in overtime. So,
oh my God. Yeah. Well, I very much get that. Like I said, I think it's too early for that. I do think it's a fair conversation to have at this point. And I think as someone who is a huge Geno fan, the guy's got 10 interceptions on the season against 11 touchdown passes. I don't think it's that abnormal that he's been throwing really bad picks this season. I think he's had almost won a game for almost every game this year. And I thought today, like, they were such a level of inexcusable that it warrants that conversation. Like, I mean, Nathan, I'm not even joking. It was gallows humor while I was there, but I literally turned, like, everyone in my section, I was like, do not get inside the 10-yard line. Do not get inside the 10-yard line. Nothing good happens inside the 10-yard line for the Seahawks. They pass to A.J. Barner. He gets to the 6-yard line. Like, next play is the interception. And I'm just like, you got to be kidding. Like, the amount of things that have been so fucked for this team at home. 2 safeties in the first game, right? Like, botched punts. I mean, you block a punt in this game. You get a turnover. It's like so many things. You literally cannot. They had 2 snaps that went for these huge losses. Almost every snap, Gino was one-handing it off to the side. Like, it was like there could have been 7 or 8 of those. It is. If you want to really critique a side of the ball, I mean, that offensive line's generally been together for most of the season at this point. It's not good, but it's been together. They've had most of the same players play on offense. There's been some in and out. What the hell's going on, Ryan Grubb? Like, what the hell's going on, Jake Peets? Like, what the hell's going on that you guys cannot function? Like, forget whether you can move the ball, but you cannot function. Like,
well, how many 2nd and 20, 3rd and 31? Like, the offensive line has been mostly together all year, excepting right tackle, and that's not a good thing.
No.
They're awful. The guards are awful. And that's another thing. Like, we can kill Gino, and Gino should get a ton of crap for those 2 picks. But last drive of the game, he gets instantly sacked and is able to, get the ball to JSN, and they get a big gain, and they go down, they score a touchdown, they tie that game up. He is overcoming an insane amount of adversity, all the bad snaps, everything else. Like, I just don't see, like, yes, 2 picks, terrible. But I just don't see Geno being the problem on this team. You think Sam Howell is absolutely going to crap himself behind this offensive line?
Probably. I mean,
yeah.
I want to be as clear as I possibly can on that. Like, what I said is I think it's too early to make this move, and I think it's the wrong thing to do, but I think it's a fair time to have that conversation. And I think at some point this season, if it continues going this direction, if you're trying to build a team that has a future and Geno Smith is turning the ball over this often in critical moments, you got to find out what you've got in the young guy, because you're going to go into the offseason having to figure out what your plan is, and you have to make a decision on him. And so it is too early. I agree with you. And I personally, from what I've seen of Sam Howell, I don't think he'd be an improvement. The thing that Sam Howell would bring that's a little bit different than Geno is he is a little bit more like Russ. He's a little bit more like, I will run around and do crazy shit, and sometimes it'll work, and I'll use my legs and make some crazy throws. So he will throw the interceptions all over the field as opposed to just inside the 5-yard line. But I wanted to give voice to what I think there's other. I mean, when I'm at the stadium, all I hear for almost this whole season is like, why aren't they playing Sam Howell? Like, most of the fan base, or a lot of the fan base, is super out on Geno. I am not, but I do feel like it is, for the first time, I would say, a legitimate conversation to have.
Yeah. I mean, Sam Howell threw 21 picks last year.
Mm-hmm.
He was sacked 65 times last year. That is not a solution. And if you do hope that he is your quarterback of the future, it's probably best to keep him off of the field, because this offensive line is going to break him. I mean, it's going to destroy him. Like, it may physically break him. Not to say that he can't mentally overcome whatever would happen to him back there. But like, yeah, man, it's awful. And putting him out there is not going to solve interceptions, the offensive line blocking, the amount of sacks. Like, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah. I mean, where are you on Ryan Grubb? Like, how did you feel about what you saw from him today?
I felt better, I think, about him today than I did against the Bills. It seemed like with the extra week, they were able to figure out some more stuff to overcome not having DK. Mm-hmm. You saw JSN stretching the field quite a bit. You saw them getting Cody White involved a little bit. I thought that there was more of a focus on, or maybe it was just more effective. I don't know if it was more of a focus really or not, but I thought that they were doing more to get K9 the ball and kind of recognizing that, he's a playmaker for them. So I felt better about Grubb in this game. They did do the thing like for a while where they were really determined to get the run going, but it didn't feel like they were doing it that wasn't why the offense wasn't working, is that they were just overly forcing that. So I mean, I'm not going to say he had a great game, but I think it was a step forward from where he was last week, at least.
I'll just remind folks that are joining now, please keep comments kind and about football, and please no all caps. So that's your warning. I will start to give people timeouts or kick people out as need be, because I want to make sure we keep the chat a place that people are happy to be, or at least able to express themselves without feeling frustrated. So, yeah, I mean, I had a bad taste in my mouth about that 4th down play call.
Yes.
I thought that was an inexcusably bad play call.
I mean, I have to imagine the thought process there is, I ain't running behind these guards. And that is not the dumbest thought, but yeah, going off tackle there.
I mean, it was like inches, right? It wasn't even a full yard that they needed to get.
I don't think it was inches. I don't know if it was a full yard, but I don't think it was inches.
I mean, what did you think about the decision for Mike Macdonald to go for it there and not kick the field goal?
Okay, so I had a really funny reaction to that, because we've been yelling about going for 4th down for years, right? Like NFL wide, Pete specifically, all this stuff. So, you have this moment, like game on the line. It's this really thing. And my stomach just turned itself in knots. And I had a total coward hormonal, like, maybe just kick the field goal, which would not have been the right thing. Like I had to like take a minute and put my rational mind in charge and be like, no, this is the thing you do. But I had for once I related to all the coaches who were just like, let's just kick this. Let's just play more football and take a lead and take the points. But I thought it was good. I mean, because I've been a little frustrated. Like Mike got a lot of credit early in the year for talking about fourth downs really well and not actually really walking the walk on it.
Mm-hmm.
And this time he did in a big way, and it backfired, but it was the right call, I think. At least to go for it, whether it was the right play call, I don't know.
I'm not gonna hate on Mike McDonald making that call. I felt like his defense had been playing so good against the Rams that taking the points there would have been probably the higher percentage chance to win that game. If I had to decide between the defense keeping the Rams from scoring a touchdown versus the Seahawks gaining half a yard, especially with that friggin' play call, I would probably take the defense at that point, which turned out to not be true because the Rams went. That's why it's like hard. It's hard to call it out, but that was an interesting decision. I really just didn't like Ryan Grubb's play call there. At the same time, the fourth down earlier in regulation that they get to JSN, I mean, was amazing. Here's the thing, man. I almost like don't even want to bring this up because it sounds like excusing all the shit that the Seahawks did. It was a really frustrating game from the referees. Like,
oh, so bad.
It was a really, really frustrating game. And the holding call that they made that took away, I mean, Jason had 180 yards. He had about 78 yards taken away from penalties. He could have had just a massive game. And they complete that ball up the middle. Like, the whole game changed with the series of calls that happened in that next few minutes. And it was really aggravating. Because, like, the Seahawks are not good enough to overcome some of that. About? What's that?
The one on Jarrell?
I think it was a holding call.
And then he immediately had a false start right after it?
Yeah, I think so. I'll have to go back to the exact play-by-play.
I thought that hold was good. Vilma on the broadcast was immediately like, oh, yeah, that's a hold. And I had the exact same reaction. I didn't see a replay, though, so maybe I was wrong.
I really didn't think it was, but I'd have to go back and find the exact when that was. And I thought the calls against the defense on third down repeatedly on the next series were really, really questionable. And
roughing and the Reek holding were awful.
Yeah, it's just friggin' aggravating to, like, you're scratching and clawing. Your team is literally shooting itself in the foot. Like, it has no feet. There are no feet left for the Seahawks. They're like walking on stubs. And then you just got the refs like, okay, you don't need those shins either. You're going to be down to the knees. Like, it's just like so aggravating, man.
They got Cotton Hill.
What's that?
They got Cotton Hill in that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
In fairness, the Puka ejection was also atrocious.
Yeah.
I feel like, I mean, he did close his fist, which was stupid of him, but I feel like you see worse than that in every game, and no one, not even a flag a lot of times. So that was wild.
What the thing I saw there, it looked like he threw a punch. Like I only saw one replay of it, but from what I saw, it didn't look as egregious. But I mean, I'm guessing other people seem to think the same as you.
He 100% threw a punch. Like, it was a closed fist, but like he didn't, like, his arm was like here basically, and he just kind of pushed it into. And like, you see guys pushing face masks and doing this all the time. So if it was an open hand, I think nothing happens maybe, or just a flag. But he happened to close his fist on it, and then they not just flagged him, but they tossed him for it, which is kind of wild.
Yeah. We have got a few super chats. Let's get to some of these. Video Game Sports says, JSN is a dog. The game is 100% on Mike Mack. You feel like the game is 100% on Mike Mack, Nathan?
No. I think the game is 50% on Geno and 50% on John Schneider. for putting together that offensive line.
Yeah. Yeah. Kyle Flanders says, I think the flaws are obvious by now. I just want to point out a couple positives. JSN continued growth. Kobe Bryant is at safety is solid. Cody White. Yeah.
Did Bobo lose a job? Is it Bob over?
I think that's a fair question. I started noticing that it was early in this game. It wasn't like Cody White started making plays. Like they came into this game with Cody White's a talented receiver, and he might not be the special teams player. Did he block the punt?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So like he showed up on special teams. He made some of those plays. He's a legit receiver. And so I was happy for him. Like it was hard to not just go through all the things I felt good about at the beginning because no one wants to hear that. But again, JSN's 22 years old and he's caught so much flack from people that like he's not the guy. He's not worth the pick. He's been disappointing.
Which is insane because he was like top 15 in receptions coming into this game. And like, I get it. He's not like Justin Jefferson. He hasn't like been a game changer so far. But yeah, he's young. He's in his second year. He's catching a ton of balls. Like every time the dude gets his ball, that ball in his hands and has some like any room to run, it's incredible.
Yeah.
And then today you just saw like, you saw a repeat of that that Eagles catch that he made last year. And he just took over the game. Yeah.
I thought he was terrific today. And I think the Kobe Bryant call-out's also great. That hit. If they had taken that away, I mean, I was sure they were going to take it away. But, I mean, it was such a legitimate hit. It was so legit. It was so perfect. And, I mean, I had the same view I had when Cam Chancellor destroyed Vernon Davis. It was the same part of the field. It was the same kind of just like, which, by the way, is also a legitimate hit that got flagged.
Yeah. They 100% threw that flag just on the sound.
Yeah.
A ref heard that hit and just reflexively threw a flag based on the sound because I don't know if you could hear it where you sit, but on the broadcast, man, he absolutely crunched him.
It was cool, man. I actually thought Ernest Jones played reasonably well, at least against the run today. I thought the defensive line, that Leonard Williams had some big moments. I thought Byron Murphy had a much better game today. Jaron Reed had some moments. I thought Dre Jones had some good moments in the run against the run. Like, I thought Derek Hall again pushed back the offensive line into his lap a bunch. Like there was a lot of good things on the defense.
And I'm so surprised because chat is angry and I see people are angry, but like this is a game where if it goes the way it's supposed to, they play all the same way, but Geno doesn't have like two massive brain farts. They win this game by 10 and everyone is feeling great.
Yeah.
Because all of the things that we've been worried about, like, there's been angst about JSN. The run defense has been terrible. Like all this different stuff, like all of those questions were answered in a super positive way. Yeah. And so like, to me, I'm really sad about this game because they should have won by 10 and they threw it away. But it's hard not to look at this and say, okay, a lot of building blocks. You go into a bye week, like you're going to get DK back. This is something that they should be able to build off of and take positive momentum in a division that looks weak and you're not that far behind it.
Geno Smith in his press conference starts the press conference by saying, I want to apologize to my teammates, to the city of Seattle, to the organization. I really feel like I let everybody down today. I'm going to step it up though. I'm going to step it up though. I'm going to step it up. Yeah, I 100% agree with everything you said, Nathan. Like, so you zoom into this game. It's atrocious. It's like awful. And like, it's embarrassing. You zoom out to like where the story arc is of this season. And a lot of the things that we needed to start seeing, a lot of the players that we needed to start seeing, it was positive. You zoom out to like, okay, the Mike McDonald regime. For me, this was a really big step forward. Everyone's going to hate that take other than you. But the whole point of having a Mike McDonald hired as your head coach is to be able to have a defensive-oriented team that can go toe-to-toe with Sean McVay in this division and be able to have a defense that's good enough to win and hopefully eventually dominant. I think he outcoached McVay today on defense. I thought I've never seen McVay against the Seahawks have so few answers for how to move the ball down the field. They really struggled to find their way. And I think that's really, in the biggest picture, I think that's really good news that Mike Macdonald is not totally lost about how to get the defense, that the defensive players are not totally lost about how to run this defense. We don't have to rebuild the entire defense. Like, again, I know no one wants to hear that, but that's just how I feel watching that. And it just sucks that they couldn't get a win to go along with it.
Exactly.
We got more super chats. Okay, we did this one. Brendan Davis says, Brian, you mentioned last week we would see which players truly care about representing this team. Any early signs? Not Gino, not Reek, JSN. Oh, yeah. Any thoughts here, Nathan?
I mean, it's hard to say about, I don't know. I don't want to say that some of these guys don't care about representing their team. Like, you can care a lot and be a bad football player or have a bad game. So, like, I think Gino cares a lot. Does he care about representing the team of the city? I don't know. You debate that all you want, but like, Gino cares a lot about, and takes a lot of pride and has, put a lot on the line and worked hard to still be in the league and have this chance at all. And so to like, yes, Gino cares a ton, and he had a bad game. Yeah.
I know exactly what the person's referring to, and thanks for the super chat, Brandon. I was calling out, like, they were in a free fall. Who was going to step up and stop it from happening? And I think I saw so many guys today, like almost the entire defense I'd put in that category. I thought Kenneth Walker played his ass off today. He had very little to work with, but he ran so hard. I thought AJ Barner played hard today, had some moments. Cody White stepped up, JSN stepped up. And as much as Gino had like these atrocious mistakes, like he never gave up on that team, and they should have won the game even after all those mistakes. Like, I thought the special teams it was like one of their best games. And by the way, if Jason Myers makes the extra point, they win this game in regulation, which again was also protection related. And I hate to give Jason Myers an excuse, but that's part of how that was a missed extra point. So I didn't walk away from this game being like, oh yeah, this team just doesn't care enough and they're not locked in. There's so much different in this game than there's been in past games. I don't know. I agree with you. I think the offensive line, more than anything else, was just bad. Video Game Sports says, let's trade Gino and Lockett and rebuild. Nobody's going to trade for either of those guys. So I'm sorry to say, like, it's just not going to happen. Devin Hoover says, it's time to bench Gino. Those are atrocious turnovers. I'd rather Howell blows and we get a high draft pick than continue to see Gino be mediocre. Like I said, not surprised. I understand where you're coming from. Jacoby says, tough loss, but the McDonald era is a marathon, not a sprint. We performed way better than last week. Not one for the moral victory, but we got to look for the improvements and appreciate the progress. Hawks win or lose, baby, all day. Appreciate that perspective. Jacoby says, see Gannon and Campbell's first year head coaching record. McDonald's still him. I think the point being that the Gannon in Arizona and Dan Campbell's first year with their teams were pretty bad. So don't give up on Mike McDonald. I think that's fair. Jacoby says, if Josh Allen can lead the NFL in interceptions last year and still be considered tier 1, Gino will have mistakes. To quote Rocky, it's about how hard you can hit and still move forward. You have a thought there, Nathan?
No, I'm just so old that when I saw Gannon and Campbell, I thought they were talking about Rich Gannon.
That's what I thought too. Not Jonathan Gannon for the Cardinals.
Who's the quarterback out of Auburn? Like, was it like Josh Campbell or something like that? That I think the Raiders. You know what I'm talking about?
I do. Yeah.
Anyways, I'm with them now. I got it.
Filler says, why is no one talking about Gino's terrible body language? It's bringing the team down. He cries, pouts, and yells at teammates. He's demoralizing his teammates. What happened to 2022? Good vibes, Gino.
That was a different Gino. That was a Mariners Gino. The good vibes only Gino was a different sport.
I don't see that when I'm in watching these games at the stadium. So I didn't see this. Was there more of that again today?
I mean, he didn't have the big pouty moment. Like, he didn't throw a ball at anybody's face or anything like that. after the picks and stuff, and the cameras would, like, on the replays, they would zoom in on his expression. And shocker, after he threw a 103-yard pick six, he looked a little down about it. So I don't know. I was kind of getting this way a little bit too, because like when the big JSN catch came back, he like threw his arms up in frustration. And I'm like, I don't know about the vibes on this team. And then like the very next drive, Kyron Williams had another big run that got called, or like, 15-year run or something that got called back on a hold, and he did the same thing. Like, I think it just feels different when your team is where the Seahawks are right now, and you look at this stuff more. There wasn't anything like Derek Hall and Jaron Reed having a screaming match, or throwing punches at each other, or Geno throwing balls at defenders or anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, he threw some balls at defenders, but not only during the place.
I mean, let's remind everyone that one of his interceptions was JSN like volleyball setting it up into the air for a guy. Yeah. So, I mean, still. Last one here. This is from Jordan Shepard. Said the conversation about Geno is too simplistic. The question is whether the Seahawks can rebuild and be competitive while he's in his prime.
I mean, Geno's 36. I don't even know how you
he's
talk
34.
about his prime. Oh, is he 34? Okay.
Yeah, he just turned 34.
Either way, still, prime is a weird conversation to have with Geno. Like, yeah.
Yeah. I think it is more complex than that, because it's also, if you just throw someone else in there, it affects everyone else on the team. And so you're trying to develop JSN, you're trying to develop the offensive line. Geno right now, so far this season, has been playing better than almost any quarterback in the NFL behind pressure, under pressure. Like, he has been mitigating what is one of, if not the worst offensive lines in the NFL. And very few quarterbacks can do that. I certainly don't think Sam Howell, who had 65 sacks last year or whatever it was, is the guy that's going to do that. So
the other thing on that too, Christian Haynes was a healthy scratch today.
Yeah.
Did Trey Brown play at all?
No. And he didn't play, according to Mike McDonald, he's still recovering from his injury. But I also think Josh Jobe is taking his job.
Bobo lost a lot of snaps. Now, none of those guys are the quarterback or, making $25 million a year even. But like this isn't a coaching staff that seems afraid to put the best player in. If Sam Howell was showing them anything, I think you would probably see Sam Howell. Like, I don't think they're beholden to Geno. I think they're playing Geno because they think Geno is the best quarterback, and they haven't been shy about saying that either. Somebody getting put in timeout?
Maybe. I'm trying to keep up. I think there's just so many other aspects of the decision with Geno that affects the defense, affects like so many things. And so I just don't think it is as simple. The reason I brought it up is because I think you've got a legitimate question of where this team's going. Like, are they building towards something, or do they need to like really shake things up? And the quarterback's timeline affects that. And they're going to have to make a decision on Geno at least at the end of next year. And there's a lot of reason to think that they'll want to make that decision going into next year as opposed to waiting. So we got a couple more super chats. Appreciate everybody here. Got one from John. Says, I agree with you too. Frustrating loss, but great to see the defense perform so well against Sean McVay's offense. I honestly don't think you can underestimate that. I thought it was a really big deal. And you talk about quarterbacks that are in their last legs. I still think Matt Stafford, other than the game against Minnesota, has had a pretty bad year and is 2 years older than Geno Smith. You don't hear nearly as many people in LA talking about, like, we've got to bench Matt Stafford. John Doe says, you said it's too soon to pull the plug on Geno. If he struggles again against the Niners after the bye week, is it time to quit kidding ourselves? At what point for you, Nathan, would you?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I'm pulling up the old schedule here. I mean, a lot of it's going to depend on like what that Niners game looks like. I mean, and then you have Cardinals, Jets, Cardinals, Packers, Vikings. I mean, I think I want to see him. I think I want to see him until the Packers game, like through the Packers game at least.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It would be nice if there was something in between, like, I don't know where all these teams actually rank, but like supposed to be a very good defense and the Cardinals, to kind of get a feel for it. It's a little tough to judge, but no, I mean, I think I want to see, I don't know. I'm just not in any hurry to get Howell in there. Like, I need to see him really melt down and show that these aren't fluke bad things, like, before I'm.
Yeah, I think for me, my general answer is until there's about 3 games left in the season. Like, unless something really just explodes, I would say, yeah, if he continues to throw as many interceptions as touchdowns, and you get to 3 games left in the season, then I'd say, yeah, let's give the kid a shot and see how he functions, at least for a game, and see how that goes.
Yeah, and you know, if you lose to the Niners and the Cardinals, and the Niners and the Cardinals keep winning over the next 3 weeks, at that point too, like maybe you just say, you know, if you think that Geno's been part of the problem in those next 2 games, then you just maybe at that point you do it, because the division, the season's pretty over, and you can just get a look at him, nice long look at him.
Yeah, Hawk Scoots says heartbreaking loss, but seeing that defense stop the run was good for my soul. Amen, man. Amen. I did not want to watch this game, Nathan, and I probably was right to not want to watch it, but I just did not want to watch them give up chunk yards over and over and over again. And it was nice. I like seeing good defense, and it was good defense. They played good defense today.
Mm-hmm. At no point, like, I mean, I was obviously overly optimistic because I thought they were absolutely getting the ball back in overtime. But it never, like, until that very last drive, it never felt like the Rams were getting anything going. Mm-hmm. Like, they were getting a ton of help from the refs, and like they could move the ball a little bit, but it never felt like, they just can't keep these guys out of the red zone even. So yeah, I thought and we were talking about it. Like, I do think that Stafford is showing signs of decline. I thought he missed some open receivers and had some bad passes in there, but you know, mostly the defense just looked really good, and they kept the run plugged up, and yeah, it was a really good defensive game. And
you had that Ernest Jones dropped interception. That was 3 points right there. Like, yeah, I just thought in general, I agree. I thought the defense was good. Bradley says, trade for Brandon Sheriff, extend Ernest Jones, please. Where are you on? Do you want them to add to this team? Do you want them to be buyers, sellers, do nothing?
Cam Johnson went for like a 7th round pick. What did he get?
Yeah.
What was that? A conditional?
Yeah.
Something like that. I mean, if that's what offensive linemen are actually going for, I don't know if that's what Scherf will go for, but like, if you can trade a 5th round pick for Scherf, and just to see, can you like stabilize this offense a tiny bit, and like, if you want to get a look at Sam Howell in the last 4 or 5 weeks, or at some point in the season too, like, what are you supposed to learn from him behind this offensive line? Like, give him a guard.
I know.
Try to shore this up a tiny bit and see if Geno can get it going, you know, get him back to looking like a top 5 offense. Or if you have to put Sam out there to evaluate him, then you can actually evaluate.
God, it's so aggravating, the offensive line. My God, as long as you and I have known each other, Nathan, we've been talking about the Seahawks offensive line.
Yep.
It is.
Since the poison pill.
Yeah.
This entire city has just been screaming about it.
Oh my God. Jacob Moon has gifted 5 Hawk Blogger memberships. I really appreciate that, Jacob. Thank you for bringing people to the community. And if you get one of those, consider giving one. We like to pay it forward around here. So appreciate you, Jacob, for doing it. All right, Nathan, what other thoughts? Anything that we haven't touched on that you think we should? What about Zach Charbonnet? How do you feel when he comes into the football game?
You know, there was a little while there where I was kind of like, okay, maybe Sharps is okay. Sorry, I don't know if you guys can hear
That's
my
okay.
dogs.
Dogs are upset too.
And then today, though, there was a couple times where there was an actual hole from the offensive line. I was like, oh boy. And then I was like, oh no, it's Sharps with the ball. And it would go for like 3 yards. And it was like, okay. So not feeling great about Sharps.
No, that is a second round pick that I think you regret. Like I said, I thought AJ Barner played well today. I thought it was good news that we had a good outing from the offense. Sorry, not from the offense, but from JSN and Tyler Lockett and Cody White without DK Metcalf, and that would be, that's good to see that they can function in some way without DK Metcalf, and that the things that were causing them to not function were not the fact that they didn't have DK, but just that they make really stupid eye gouging mistakes. I want to go back and look. I thought Devin Witherspoon maybe had his best game of the year. I thought he made some. He gave up a play or so, but I thought he was good in run support, and I thought he was good in coverage today in general relative to how he's been the rest of the year. I felt him more today.
From the broadcast, it was hard to say, which I think is a positive. Usually, if you're not talking about corners, it's good. I mean, obviously, no big splash plays from him, which is kind of what we were all hoping for. But yeah, you would have had definitely a better perspective on that.
Now, people are killing Reek Woolen. I know that there was a play in overtime where he should have been driving back to the ball. I think he just thought it was coming right to him and did not expect the receiver to step in front.
That was a heartbreaker.
It was a bad decision. I don't know that he sucks. He was exactly where he's supposed to be and was about to have his second interception. I thought the interception he did have in the first half was a spectacular interception. I thought he made another great play coming across the field to cut down a crosser. I thought Reek played pretty well, all in all.
Yeah, I think melting down a tiny bit on the game-losing drive is probably coloring a lot of folks.
Yeah.
And you know what? Look, if you're going to be a great cornerback, you can't give up those plays, but or you make the pick, or you don't give up the touchdown, or preferably both. But yeah. But no, I don't think he was terrible for the whole game.
I thought Michael Dixon had a good game. I know that's an odd thing to bring up, but
there was a point where it had an infographic that the game had 8 first downs and 8 punts.
Yeah, he definitely got a lot of practice today. Yeah, I don't know, man. We get a week. We get an election in the middle of it, so God knows. Hopefully, the country still holds itself together no matter what happens there. And then the Seahawks go down to play the 49ers, and I am not expecting Abe Lucas to be ready for that game. We'll see. I'm not expecting him to be ready, but we'll see.
Well, if you're not optimistic about it, then it's
I didn't like the way Mike McDonald talked about Abe Lucas on Friday in terms of, I'm not going to say he's on schedule because, and I was like, oh, shoot. Okay.
Hey, we have to put some respect on Cody White's literal name. It's Cody with a D.
Yeah.
See, this is a common mistake I'm seeing a lot of people make, and people are being complimentary of him.
What are they saying?
Calling Kobe.
Oh, yeah. No, it's Kobe Bryant, Cody White.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, Cody.
Cody. C-O-D-Y.
You're going to give him some love. Give him some D, too.
It's nice to see, I don't know if there's ever been a receiver who's had 2 catches that's getting more love than Cody White.
Yeah, it's cool. I love our training camp wide receivers. Everyone loves your training camp wide receivers and their backup quarterback.
Jake Bobo, 1 target, 0 yards. So a little bit of a difference there for sure. Oh boy, it would have been fun to get a win.
Good, huh?
What's that?
Jared Verse and Brandon Fisk sure look good, don't they?
My goodness.
Fisk looks like a nightmare. I mean, they both look like nightmares. Did you see Jared Verse take on that pulling guard? I think that must have been Tomlinson. Yeah, man, he's He's fun.
He
I
would have been
regret
fun.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I have no regrets about the pick or anything, but I did just watch him a lot in this game, and I was like, oh yeah, he's good. I remember why I liked him so much.
He was exactly the kind of, I mean, he's exactly the guy that I thought he would be. So that's too bad. I got a super chat from A-Trab, says this year's draft was a disaster. Maybe.
I don't know.
I think Byron Murphy's going to be pretty darn good, and I think Barner's played pretty well. I think Tyrese Knight looks like he's going to be an eventual starter. I don't think it's a disaster. I think that there's some missed opportunities for sure. But it's hard to not have a draft where you have some missed opportunities. So, all right, Nathan, I'm going to let you go. I appreciate you coming on, keep me company during this disappointing 4-game home losing streak for the Seahawks. Losers.
Is it really a 4-game home losing streak?
4-game home losing streak. Losers of 5 of their last 6.
Yeah.
It's a bad spell. And I'll just say this, as bad as this game was to lose, this was honestly a step forward for where the Seahawks, if you want Seahawks to build to be something interesting eventually, this was actually a step forward. No one's going to like that take, but that's generally how I feel.
And maybe this says more about, you can take this different ways, I guess, but I think this is the most hopeful I've been about this team since week 1.
Yeah. It's so crazy that you and I both feel that way. I think there's some people in chat that feel that way as well. And, man, it's going to be ugly this week on Seahawks Twitter. So just beware. Little programming note, tomorrow morning, I think Mike McDonald's going to be doing his press conference at like 10:15. So Robert Mays brought to you by Pagliacci Pizza is going to be on Tuesday this week. I don't know exactly when I'm going to do Hawk Blogger Mornings tomorrow, because I will do my morning after column first, and then we'll likely head to the VMAC to do the press conference, and then we'll come back at some point to do Hawk Blogger Mornings. So just know, as far as schedule tomorrow morning, it's a little bit in flux. Keep an eye out. If you haven't already subscribed and clicked the bell to get notified, that's the best way to know when I'm going live and what's going on. Thank you, Nathan, at Nathan E11. I hope you have a good rest of your night. Forget about football. Forget about the Seahawks. And we'll see you later this week.
Have a good one yourself.
Thank you. All right, everybody. I'm Brian Nemhauser. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at HawkBlogger. This has been a post-game episode of Real Hawk Talk. Take care, y'all.
Hey, folks. This is Brian Nemhauser. Thanks for listening to the show. Hope you enjoyed it. Want you to know that Real Hawk Talk is available on all major podcast platforms. Go ahead and subscribe. Have all podcasts delivered directly to your phone after each and every show. And then go ahead and leave us a 5-star review. Helps us out, gets more people to the show. Then, if you haven't already done it, go to patreon.com/hawkblogger and subscribe for just $5 a month. Gets you immediate access to our Slack channel. Join hundreds of folks in that community to talk Seahawks about wins, losses, and all things in between. Not to mention, become eligible to win giveaways for Seahawks tickets and get to ask questions of the Real Hawk Talk crew every week on the show. Finally, if you haven't gone to hawkblogger.com recently, head on over. Tail the Tape morning after articles are there every week. Hoping to see you there. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for supporting the show. Go Hawks.